Turkey is located in the Alpine Himalayan seismic belt, which is one of the most important earthquake belts in the world. Anatolian Plate, on which Turkey is located, it is surrounded by the Eurasian Plate in the north, the African and Arabian Plate in the south, the Eastern Anatolian Block in the east and the Aegean Block in the west. Due to this tectonic location, most of Turkey's lands are under the risk of earthquakes. It is stated that the number of active faults or fault segments that can produce earthquakes of 5.5 and above in Turkey is 485. Among these active faults, the North Anatolian Fault, that is, the North Anatolian Fault Line, 1350 kilometers, and the East Anatolian Fault, that is, 580 kilometers, have large fault systems consisting of subparts that can produce destructive earthquakes alone. Turkey is divided into 5 earthquake zones according to the 1996 earthquake zoning map. 66% of Turkey's surface area, 71% of the population, 75% of industrial facilities and power plants. It is located in the 1st and 2nd degree seismic zones. Between 1900 and 2014, the highest number of earthquakes that caused loss of life and property in Turkey occurred in the range of 5.5 to 5.9 magnitude. The magnitude of the earthquake that caused the most loss of life and building damage was 7.5 to 7.9, respectively. And between 7.0 and 7.4, earthquakes that cause loss of life and property, maximum for the first 5 regions with the highest number of losses in terms of loss of life and damaged buildings in 55 of the 81 provinces in Turkey, from the largest to the smallest. It has been determined that they are listed as Eastern Anatolia, Marmara, Black Sea, Aegean, Mediterranean regions. The fact that the public is not sufficiently conscious about earthquake preparedness and sensitivity increases the losses. According to the research conducted by Barham Research Company 12 years after the 1999 Kokili earthquake, 1021 people interviewed as representative, 7 out of 10 people stated that they did not make any special preparations for an earthquake, 52% thought that their house was resistant to earthquakes, and 71% did nothing to protect themselves from an earthquake. Among those surveyed, it is stated that 12% of them do natural disaster insurance, 10% strengthen their structures, 8% fix their belongings in the house, and 5% prepare earthquake bags. In a similar study conducted in 3,267 households in 44 provinces, 70% of them state that they have no preparation for an earthquake, and 80% of them state that they do not look at the earthquake resistance while buying or renting a house. Control problem: obtaining a quality structure, compliance and quality of the planning, design, construction and use of that building can also be ensured by an effective control of these processes. Until 2001 throughout Turkey, the inspection of newly built buildings was carried out with a system called quadruple TUS, consisting of 4 different experts for architecture, statics, plumbing and electricity. Until 2001, many buildings were built illegally or unsupervised due to reasons such as the audit electing the auditor and paying their wages, the audit not being carried out by the state, and the failure of the people in TUS to fulfill their duties. The Building Inspection Law No. 4708 came into force on July 31, 2001 in 19 provinces and on January 1, 2011 throughout Turkey. Hence, 35 of 1. Nothing can be said about whether the buildings constructed until 2011 in the other 62 provinces, including those in the degree earthquake zone, have not passed a qualified inspection. However, among the 17,030 damaged buildings in the earthquakes in Van, there are heavily damaged buildings designed according to the current earthquake regulations. Since the employer chooses the company to audit itself and pays its wages, it causes problems with supervision. Many damaged structures damaged in the earthquake. It is seen that the ground survey is prepared according to the building instead of building according to the ground. This has been very effective in increasing the loss of life and property. Due to the fact that the effect of soil properties on making earthquake-resistant structures was not taken into consideration, it was seen that the soil survey was only a document to be included in the license file until the 1999 Kokili earthquake. On July 13, 1944, although geological survey studies based on the zoning plan were started with the law on measures to be taken before and after earthquakes numbered 4623, which was enacted, geological surveys were not mentioned in the zoning laws numbered 6785 in 1956 and 3194 in 1985. The gap in this matter has been tried to be filled by the General Directorate of Iller Bank and the General Directorate of Disaster Affairs. Although areas unsuitable for settlement were excluded from construction by the decision of the Council of Ministers and disaster-exposed area by these institutions, economic and political conditions were affected when the municipalities took the planning authority. After 1985, a rapid construction started especially in tourism regions. With the circular numbered 1634 of the Ministry of Public Works and Settlement, on the opening of the areas excluded from construction to settlement, it was decreed that a geological and geotechnical survey report should be prepared in these areas and the report should be approved by the General Directorate of Disaster Affairs or the General Directorate of Iller Bank. However, it cannot be said that the same meticulousness is applied to these circulars everywhere. With the changes in the circular and regulation issued after the Kokili earthquake, new regulations were introduced regarding the content of the survey reports. According to two separate earthquake scenarios of 7.5 and 7.7 magnitudes made by Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality and JITSA, the number of heavily damaged buildings is estimated to be 51 and 59,000, the death toll is 73 and 87,000, and the material loss is $50 billion. It has been 24 years since the August 17 earthquake, which was shown as the worst disaster in Turkey's recent history. The 7.4 magnitude earthquake that occurred on the night of August 16 to August 17 in 1999 was recorded as the second largest earthquake in the history of Turkey. The earthquake that occurred in the western part of the North Anatolian fault line, which runs through the northern regions of Turkey, started on Tuesday, August 17, 1999 at 3:01 and lasted for 45 seconds. The epicenter of the earthquake was announced as Gölcük district of Izmit. Its size is also 7.6 on the Richter scale by the U.S. Geological Survey. It was measured as 7.8 by Boğaziçi University Kandilli Observatory. However, today, the magnitude of the earthquake is generally accepted as 7.4, which was announced in the first statements, and this measure is used. The August 17 earthquake was recorded as the second largest ground shaking in Turkey in terms of its magnitude. It was determined that the Earth's crust moved to the right in the earthquake with a depth of 17 kilometers and broke along a 120-kilometer line. The Chamber of Geological Engineers, in its report published 3 months after the earthquake, wrote that the areas passing over the fault shifted to the right and forward about 4 meters on average. In the same report, it was stated that after the break in the main epicenter in Gölcük, another earthquake base in the Arafai region, located further east on the same fault belt, may have been activated. About 3 months after the August 17 earthquake, another earthquake with the epicenter in Duz occurred again on the North Anatolian fault line, this time on November 12. 845 people lost their lives in the Duz earthquake, which had a magnitude of 7.2 and lasted for 30 seconds. According to official figures, 18,373 people lost their lives and 48,901 were injured in the earthquake. Another 5,840 people disappeared. In the report published in July 2010 by the Parliamentary Research Commission, which was established to determine the precautions to be taken in earthquake management by investigating the earthquake risk, it was stated that 364,905 houses and workplaces were destroyed or damaged at various levels in the earthquake. In its report published in 1999, the Chamber of Geological Engineers listed the 3 most important factors that increased the loss of life as follows: active fault zone, although the active fault line was known beforehand, dense construction and high population potential along this line increased the damage and loss of life. As you move away from the fault zone, it is seen that there is little or no damage, especially on the slopes and foothills. Wet alluvial soil, between Bolu and Yalova, the fault zone and its immediate surroundings are composed of extremely soft and loosely fixed clay, sand and gravel deposits and alluvial ground. Such soils have negative features that will increase the current earthquake intensity several times. Construction errors: the region is within the boundaries of the first-degree earthquake zone. While this is the case and it is obligatory to comply with the earthquake regulations, a significant portion of the heavy damage and high rate of loss of life in the earthquake is due to construction errors, incorrect foundation designs that do not comply with the ground conditions, poor workmanship and building material errors and rottenness used in construction. The American Washington Post newspaper stated in its article that it analyzed the Kahramanmaraş earthquakes, that the energy released rather than the size caused the destruction. According to this, the double earthquake released 30 times the energy of the earthquake that killed 300,000 people in Haiti in 2010. The destructiveness of the earthquake disaster in Turkey was the subject of discussion rather than its magnitude. Because some earthquakes of similar magnitude did not affect such a large area and population. The U.S. Geological Survey investigated why the earthquake, which caused great destruction in 10 cities of Turkey, affected about 15 million people, and was felt in 8 countries, was so devastating. According to the American Washington Post newspaper, seismic activity and the energy released during the earthquake are as effective as infrastructure problems in the destructiveness of earthquakes. The newspaper reported that recording the magnitude gives scientists an idea of the scale of earthquakes, but that the energy released by these natural events is what makes them deadly. The energy released in an earthquake is calculated by scientists in joules. In the International System of Units, energy is defined as a unit of measurement derived from the amount of work or heat. Apart from the intensity of the earthquake, it is also used to measure the energy released. According to the measurement of the USGS, the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Kahramanmaraş was measured as 30 petajoules. The energy released by the 7.0 magnitude Haiti earthquake in 2010, which killed 300,000 people, was measured as only 2.1 petajoules. In other words, the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in Turkey corresponds to approximately 15 times the Haiti earthquake in terms of energy released. 30 petajoules are strong enough to meet the energy needs of 774,000 houses for 1 year. The tanks of more than 5,000 Boeing 747 type aircraft can be fully filled with this energy. The earthquake of 9.0 magnitude that took place in Japan in 2011 was 3 petajoules. Due to the tsunami it created, 15,000 people lost their lives and caused $300 billion of damage. The damage of the August 17 earthquake to the Turkish economy is estimated to be between $12 and $20 billion. San Francisco-based disaster modeling company Temblor, co-founded by Turkish geophysicist Volkan Sevilcan and Stanford University geophysicist Professor Ross Stein in the USA, announced that after the 7.8 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes according to the measurements in the USA on February 6, the new earthquake and mapped stressed faults where aftershocks could occur. Stress calculations showed that the 7.5 magnitude earthquake on the Surgu and Kardak faults might have been triggered by the 7.8 magnitude earthquake on the East Anatolian fault 110 kilometers south. In the report written by Shinji Toda from Tohoku University in Japan, it was noted that while mapping the faults where new earthquakes and aftershocks can occur, aftershocks will decrease in number and remain clustered in stress-triggered regions, but their size may not decrease.